Hi, my name is Rory Scott. I'm from Ireland, but I've lived in England the last 20 years and my main language is English.
Hi, this is episode 18 of Rory's Table Tennis Topics, and today's show is a feature on Chelmsford Table Tennis Club. Alongside myself and my co-host Brett Holt, who does all the technical stuff for the show. We've got Paul Nicol and David Gatheral, who are involved in the organisation of Chelmsford Table Tennis Club. So I'm going to get both of them to introduce themselves. So this time we're going to start with Paul. So Paul, give us a bit of a background of how you got into table tennis and what you do now.
Well, I've been playing since 2006. I never played before. I took it up then. I just turned up at Chelmsford Table Tennis Club, unknown to me. They'd just moved to a massive new venue. There used to be Gatheral Village Table Tennis Club. I didn't know anything about that. So I joined in 2006. I became treasurer by about 2010, 11, something like that. And since then, I've been chairman, child protection officer, and coaching coordinator and match secretary, which is quite important. So I do quite a lot for Chelmsford Table Tennis Club.
Tell us a bit about the venue.
As I say, it wasn't my doing, but they moved into what is basically a huge sports hall because their old venue, they lost their old venue, and this sports hall has a 60-meter running track for sprinting and some length at both ends. So it's just a very big space with an enormously high ceiling. And fortunately, quite a lot of storage space for a lot of tables. And over the years, we've managed to pretty much fill it up on Friday nights and put quite a lot of people in there on Sunday afternoon and Monday night as well.
Paul, how many tables and where did you get them from and how?
Well, we've got, I think, 22 tables in regular use. And the club basically already had a lot of tables when I joined. We sold some of them to you, as you know, Rory. Yeah. So we had quite a lot of tables, very basic ones originally, but gradually we've every time we can, we buy another lovely tonic Olympic standard. So now we've got 6 of them. So all of our adult matches are played on top level Donic tables.
Nice one. Okay, and David, give us an introduction to yourself.
Yeah, I'm David Gatheral, and I'm the coaching officer for Chelmsford and District Table Tennis League. So I don't actually have a massive connection to Chelmsford Table Tennis Club, except that I used to be the head coach there, and I still am the coach now under Lee McHugh. I started playing table tennis back in the 80s. My mum and dad taught me. They both played. My dad still plays. I've had a few breaks, gone to university, stopped then, and had a few breaks since I came back to Chelmsford. But when I did come back to Chelmsford, I played for Gatheral Village Table Tennis Club, which was the precedent of Chelmsford Table Tennis Club. And I stopped playing for Gatheral Village just before they moved to the new venue. So I used to play for them. I've been a coach for about 4 years now, coached mainly at Chelmsford Table Tennis Club, and been the coaching officer since 2016, I believe, for the league.
Great. Okay, so as we like to do, we start with Brett's quickfire round, where he shoots off a few questions, and we have relatively short answers from the guests. So over to you, Brett.
Well, to start off our quick fire round, we're going to start off. What do you feel is your strongest, your forehand side or your backhand side?
Who goes first? I'll go first. I've only got a forehand. My backhand's just for blocking. I try and improve it as I've got older and become less mobile, but I'm all forehand.
I use long pimples on my backhand, so my backhand is for control, but my strength really is my forehand. That's where my winners are going to come from, and also the majority of my mistakes.
So do you prefer games of up to 11 or 21 on the old system, or would you prefer a different scoring system like at the World Championships of Ping Pong where they played up to 15?
For me, I prefer 11. I don't think we should mess around with the scoring system. I think it puts table tennis in a bad light if we imply that there's something wrong with it. I don't know any of this chat about, we should have 5 serves in a row, the ball's wrong. Look, we've got a great sport and the rules are great as it is. Play to 11, it's good.
Yeah, 100%.
Good.
Paul likes to keep things positive. Yeah, I agree with him though. I think that the 11 up system is really good. I used to play up to 21, of course, and I just thought you could, if you got really behind, you were a long time losing. I prefer the 11 system, best of 5. I really like the best of 15 system they use for the ping, but I think that's just for special occasions and for something a bit special.
Sure, I think it's a good time to mention what's happening in the Macau World Table Tennis event. They're trying some new systems. They've had best of 5 for early rounds, which I think is a good idea. Then they're having a best of 7 for, I think it's probably quarterfinals and semis. And then the final is best of 9, which again is not a bad idea. I think that's quite an idea, a good thing to try out, see what people think. Then they're also doing a different camera angle, which is interesting. They've got the tables colored black and the floor colored black. And they've got, because maybe so the ball is easier to see. Then they've got an octagonal arena. Perhaps it's better for spectators to view the area. So I think, yeah, it's good that they're trying out some new stuff. Oh, the other thing they are trying out, which I don't particularly like, is they're doing sudden death at 10-all.
1 point for the game.
10-10 is what the next point wins, and I don't really think that's a great idea. I think there's more drama with the juice and advantage, if you know what I mean.
We don't maybe from an organisation point of view.
Easier for an organisation point of view.
Long rallies, like making the rounds longer.
Well, possibly, but how many matches are there in these world events? They've got maybe initial round, then they've got like quarterfinals, semis, finals. So there aren't actually that many matches. Perhaps for a tournament like Brett and I ran, where there was 160 something entrants over 26 tables on one day, then maybe something like that would help with the running of a tournament. But I don't think it's necessary at world class level.
I think that all of those things have been tried before, but the thing that's really new in Macau, which I just is pretty absurd, is that the seeds get to choose who they play in the later rounds. So if you're that's absolutely bizarre. I can understand that it gives a tactical part of the game, and you get Ma Long saying what he really thinks about Matthias Falk, for example. But maybe it provides some entertainment, and so people will enjoy the top 4 seeds being forced to put on the spot and say what they think. But I don't think it's something that we want to take on in.
I wasn't aware of that, and it does seem a bit bizarre, and it gives the seeded players an advantage because they can choose the player they can beat most easily, I suppose.
Well, the top seed got it wrong and chose somebody that they then lost to.
Really?
So it didn't always work.
No.
What would you prefer to play against? Long pimples, short pimples, or anti-loop?
Well, for me, my least favourite kind of opponent is one who's attacking on both wings, close to the table. That's my least favourite kind. If anyone's going to have any phony rubbers, I think that means they're likely to be a bit more defensive, gives me more of a chance. I'd prefer to play against long pimples by far because I think they're more predictable, and I would. My least favourite of those options would definitely be anti-spin pusher close to the table, because at least then they're taking away my time.
Yeah.
I, like Paul, would prefer to play against long pimples. I always feel quite confident when I play against another long pimple player, especially if they're just poking it about, and then eventually I'll get a chance to use my forehand. But short pimples I really don't like playing against because they tend to just hit the ball far too hard, far too fast, take it off the table.
David, if you had to play me in a match, would you prefer if I'd played long pimples or normal rubbers both sides?
Well, you ought to remember that we have played in a match at that, and I must admit I wasn't confident, but I thought I'm really excited to play Rory because I like playing like you. I sort of I sort of have a sort of similar-ish sort of game to you. I thought, I'm really looking forward to this. I'll give him a real good game. But you turned up the table without your long pimples, just with a normal bat, and just absolutely destroyed me without using the pimples. So yeah,
I do think when I say I'd like
to pay you the respect.
You would have done better.
When I say I like to play against long pimples, I don't mean a long pimples chopper, someone that's really using it properly and chopping and twiddling, which I think Rory does. I mean, me and David, when I try and sort of coach David a little bit, I often talk about the difference between how Rory uses long pimples and how David and a lot of local league players use long pimples. I'm talking about, when I say I'd like to play against long pimples, I'm talking about someone that's using them in the way they're used in local league, which is basically to push and to cover a weakness. I don't think, Rory, you're not using them to cover a weakness, because actually your best shot is your twiddle backhand kill. So I don't want to play against someone that's using them in that way, surprising me, twiddling, properly chopping. I'm only talking about someone that's using it to cover a weakness.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what is your favourite food?
Curry, biryani.
Yeah, biryani.
For me, it's fish cakes, but it has to be fish cakes from the Orange Tree Pub in Chelmsford. It's the best pub in Chelmsford. All of the Chelmsford table tennis coaches and Chairman Paul, we all go to the Orange Tree after our coaching sessions, and I'll always have some fish cakes if they're on.
Nice. Fish cakes, the way to be. So what is your favourite TV programme at the moment?
No TV programme. Don't watch TV.
Old school.
I like to watch Taskmaster with Greg Davies and lots of celebrities being given, stupid tasks to do. I enjoy that. It's good.
Yeah, good fun. And what is your favourite type of music?
African high life from Ghana in the 1970s, I think.
1970s, yeah.
I like punk and rock. Specifically like Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine, who I always like to say put the pun into punk.
Yeah, definitely. So,
never heard of either of those.
If you're a sports fan, what would you say would be your favourite team? So this can be a team from any sport. Who would you, be passionate about?
Well, my favourite sport to watch by far is cricket. I think it just works really well. So I enjoy watching basically any cricket, although I no longer play. I used to play at a very good level. And I don't really have a football team in terms of soccer.
What about cricket team? What's the name of your favourite cricket team?
Well, I just like watching international cricket, to be honest. I mean, I like watching England, but I'm not wildly patriotic. So basically, any kind of international cricket. My apart from table tennis, I mean, my main sport was Australian rules football. I played that for 13 years for the North End Lions. So that's my favourite sport, without a doubt. I think it's the best sport ever invented. But I don't think it's great to watch, to be honest, because I don't think it really works. The pitch is too big, but I love watching cricket.
And I don't really like watching sport that much. I prefer playing it, but I do enjoy watching the Scottish national team play whenever they're playing in they haven't played in many big tournaments recently, but I'm hoping they get through to the European Cup. Yeah, Scotland national team, I suppose.
That'd be your fan favourite. And that brings us to the end of the quick fire round.
Okay, so back to the main topic of today's show, which is the impressive success that Chelmsford Table Tennis Club has had with promoting their practice and coaching sessions. And as Paul mentioned, they've got 22 tables, and pre-lockdown they were filling them no problem. And I still think they were getting capacity to what they could do within COVID guidelines in between the two lockdowns. So David, would you like to start us off on how this session has these sessions have evolved? And it's not just juniors, you've got lots of seniors playing as well.
Well, I'd like to provide some context for the success of Chelmsford Table Tennis Club, because that context really is Chelmsford Table Tennis league. And I mean, you should be able to see from that, it's a table and it shows you from 2015-16, when we had only 6 junior teams in our junior league, which then was called the Click League. Going for the years up to 2019-20, we've had 29 teams in that league. So that's a massive increase of 23 teams over 5 years. And, it's true to say that in the last couple of years, the majority of those teams have come from Chelmsford Table Tennis Club. But, just to give you, from a league point of view, the massive growth of our junior league is down to the fact that we've actually got several healthy table tennis clubs, all with junior set. Well, 5 of them have got junior sections. Chelmsford Table Tennis Club is by far the biggest, but we've also got Danbury, Buxbury, Old Chelmsfordians, and Nicol as well. So there's 5 clubs with junior sections, all contributing to this massive explosion in junior table tennis in Chelmsford.
Good question there. Your practice sessions at Chelmsford, are they solely for Chelmsford members, or can players from other clubs join as well?
No, I think when I started gradually being in charge of it along with other people, I'm not the only one that running the club. We already had 2 big advantages, which we were the only club that has a regular open night, so everyone knows that anyone can go to our Friday night adult session, and we've long had people from other clubs. We have quite a few people that play for other clubs but are actually members of ours just for the purposes of going every Friday night, or others that just come occasionally, so they don't need to be members, they just pay the £4. So we have on a Friday night before lockdown, we were getting between 50 and 60 juniors each Friday.
And Paul, do they
3 different sessions?
Because I can imagine collecting £4 from everybody on a session would be a nightmare.
Yeah. We've. I'm going to talk a bit about this later, because I think this is the real nuts and bolts of it. Questions like that are the real nuts and bolts of how you actually do it. Boring as it might be, but the juniors for quite a long time, since David was head coach with Lee McHugh, and we had Wally Badder there as well. We've had the juniors playing each Friday in advance if possible, but they could pay £1 extra if they weren't paying in advance. And that gave us first of all a grip and knowledge. Gave us lots of information about all the kids. It meant that we talked to the parents every week. But the adults, until lockdown, when we've moved to a booking system for them as well, because we've had limited space due to social distancing and bubbling, we've moved to a booking for them as well. But we did have someone, not me, I did it for years, but more recently Addy Cam has done it, of someone just actually collecting all the money, it is quite a big task, but it means that we're really flexible, and people just feel that they can turn up whenever they want. So I think we do offer a lot of flexibility. We don't have people booking for a month or a term, because I think parents would find that less flexible.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, we have
pay for one session.
As well as 50, 60 kids, we've also got we'll probably have some matches going on as well. And so that'll be some juniors from other clubs who come and go, have a very short match, and we'll have around 30 adults playing on a Friday night as well. And then on Sundays we have about usually 32 adults and juniors in a real mix. Absolutely, for some reason it's absolute beginner juniors, and then quite a lot of elderly players that are kind of retirement age elderly players, and then just a few people sort of from the middle age category probably. So we have hundreds of people playing every week.
Are you moving into tier 2 after lockdown, or what tier are you going to be in after lockdown?
We're going to be in tier 2, aren't we, David?
Yes, tier 2.
Yeah. So are you planning on reopening your coaching sessions for juniors or practice for juniors? And also you can do one-to-one with adults as well. Are you planning on reopening?
Probably just juniors. We're thinking about doing the adults, but it's really difficult to book the space and I'm not sure how many people want to play with just one other person, which is what I understand the rule is. So that, like me and David, we could play each other, not the same household, but we'd only play each other.
Yeah. So what I'm doing in my
I don't know how many people would want to do it.
What I'm going to do in my club, it's only a small venue, 3 tables. So I will just say they can book an hour between 8 and 9 or 9 to 10. They play with one other person for an hour because I don't think anybody wants to play for longer than 1 hour against the same person. And that's it, really. They just book in with that hour with me over text or email or whatever. So,
well, I just to describe a bit more about our operation. So we, as well as having lots of people coming to the Friday night session, we also have matches on Sunday afternoons and Friday afternoons as well. And in the Junior League, before lockdown, we had 17 teams, which were, and I'm going to tell you all the names: Cougars, Pumas, Jaguars, Leopards, Rhinos, Falcons, Antelopes, Panthers, Owls, Elephants, Tigers, Wolves, Eagles, Ospreys, Wildcats, Kangaroos, and Kestrels.
You got enough
they
for
started
Noah's
as cats,
Ark
and then
there.
we had to. Pardon?
You got enough for Noah's Ark there.
Yeah, we were about to have 4 more teams just before lockdown hit, which we were sort of scrabbling to put together, which were pythons, salamanders, komodos, and alligators. So we were just about to have 21 junior teams. I think there's a few aspects of this and how you can do that I wanted to talk about, which so I think 4 things that are really crucial to it, 4 elements that we did, which I don't think everyone does. None of this is rocket science, but I think that the things that in table tennis not everyone does. Firstly, huge involvement from the parents. Secondly, paid and qualified coaches rather than volunteers, and we've got quite a lot of people who coach for us at least sometimes. We've got a pretty regular coaching crew: David Gatheral, Lee McHugh, and Veronica Bozek at the moment, who's a former cadet international for Poland. So they do most of it with Oscar Moyes and Keith Martin as well. But over the years, we've had quite a few more, like Wally Badder was really involved. So those are 2 of the things, the parents and the coaches. And then thirdly, talk about the league structure of how we've arranged this junior league and why. And then the 4th thing is talk about safeguarding, which is a thread that runs through everything else. I think it's not an afterthought to us. We've got a really detailed safeguarding policy. It's not just a piece of paper. I think the first thing, you look at all those teams, right? I think this might be the thing that we do that's most different from what other people do, is that each of those teams has a parent that is the match manager for the team. We don't have club members overseeing each junior team, and that's a big change from what was going on before, when we thought, in the old dads and lads league, as it wasn't only juniors, and that's another change we've made it only juniors. In the old dads and lads league, the idea was you had to have someone there that could provide transport for the juniors and look after the juniors. And to me, that's self-limiting, because there's only so many people who are going to be that kind of heroic volunteer to run a team. But if you say, well, no, the parents are going to have to take on that responsibility, and we're going to support them, and we're really flexible for the parents as well, and we're helpful, and we communicate really well, but the parents have to take responsibility for managing each of the teams, making sure a team gets out. They don't need to be there every time, because each team has at least three or four members, and between the parents of those children, at least one of them's got to be there every time, and one of them's got to be a match manager, and they are responsible for transport. Our safeguarding policy is really clear that parents are responsible for transport, and if the club members are giving juniors lifts, it should be only irregularly, not as standard. It should be arranged through the parents, not with the child. And also that they tell us, me as a child protection officer, or David's dad, Gordon Gatheral, is joint child protection officer. So they tell one of us why they're giving transport to a child in this particular circumstance, or to also a vulnerable adult. So I think that's the first thing I'd like to talk about a little bit. There is just to lay out to grow, to expand. You have to put a lot more responsibility on parents than I think a lot of clubs do.
Just a quick point. I mean, that to me seems quite normal. I mean, parents would normally take responsibility for your children. You wouldn't normally get club members taking responsibility for bringing children to league matches. That seems like quite a normal thing.
No, well, it's not rocket science. But when I took over, there was a kind of belief that if you were going to put a junior into a team, then somebody that was in that team was going to be responsible for giving them lifts, and that's. Actually, I don't think it's rocket science. I think it should be standard, but I think a lot of clubs, certainly our club, in the past, they had the idea that coaches, and it still happens now. Honestly, I still know of junior teams that go off to British League teams, and absolutely, as standard, it's the coach team that is expected and is expecting to give all the juniors lifts.
Yeah. So, but are you saying that the parents are required, or at least one parent is required, to stay there with the team during the whole match, or can they drop off and pick up at the end?
I think they use their own judgment for that a little bit, depending on how responsible and knowledgeable the kids are. But we expect one of them to be there to at least set the match underway. Because with there being so many teams, it's not possible for somebody like David. I mean, the real practical reasons is David will be coaching while this is going on, and sometimes it used to happen that I hope, and occasionally it still happens now, that the coaches will have to sort something out about the match. But we want that to be as little as possible, so the coaches can focus on coaching.
The support that we've had from the league committee in expanding the junior league so much, because I mean, certainly at Paul's suggestion, but with the league support, we did move the whole structure of the league from 2 entry points, one in winter and one in summer, September and June, to 3 entry points, which was September and then January and then June. So those multiple entry points, that was something supported by the league, something that Paul was very keen on for a long time, and that's been quite crucial, I think, in the success.
Yeah, I think. Can I just come in on that? This was something that I've been driving for, and just a bit more about I think there's so many different rationales for this. We have 3 fairly short seasons, so autumn, spring, and summer, and they're all very equal. I think I don't know why that table tennis just stops in the summer, especially for kids. It's a great thing for them to do. So we make them all really equal. We have very small divisions of only about 6 teams, and the reason for that is that the kids their levels change very quickly, and there's huge differences between 2 different juniors who are playing at a very modest level. So we try and constantly expand at the bottom. We focus on our strategy on the bottom, and we constantly split there, and every time we can, we invent new divisions and have new teams of almost total beginners. We put kids playing league table tennis when they've hardly played at all, and just see how they get on with it. And of course, their abilities change very quickly, and that means, and we're flexible, that we'll reorganize the league completely 3 times a year. And I think that there's a couple of other things to mention about this. I think that I'm not opposed to. I know some people are opposed to local league table tennis, but I do think there are some things about it that are really silly from the point of view of kids, from the point of view of juniors that have exams, especially when they get up to doing GCSEs or A levels. That we try and keep, as much as possible. It's not completely successful. We try and keep the season away from the exam period with quite short seasons. We don't have them going far away on school nights, so our matches are all Friday night or Sunday afternoon, so that parents concerned about kids that have got homework, hopefully those are times that they wouldn't expect their juniors to be doing the homework. This is really important. Short matches as well. So we have a Davis Cup format, 2 against 2 and 1 doubles. So on a Friday night they can play a match and then do the coaching session.
So the main
we try,
I think, for people to run a junior league is just having enough juniors of the similar standard to make teams and divisions. Because I mean, most leagues would be lucky to have one division of 6 teams, and obviously, if you only have one division, the chances of having all 6 teams of a reasonable similar standard is very hard. So I mean, I think you need to have quite a lot of juniors at a similar level in order to get something like this off the ground. So that's one of the challenges.
Yeah. But what I'm describing is that we always try to be really optimistic and plan for success and growth. So you try to arrange things in such a way that they can keep expanding. As to, I think one of the questions that sort of will be on people's lips is where all these kids come from. And I've got to say, there is a lot of things that we don't do that people are assumed to do. We don't seek any funding from anyone. We charge, again, boring finance. We charge the parents what it costs. We don't need funding for tables, nets, anything like that. I mean, to be honest, we have got a few grants, but I don't. It's definitely not relevant to our success. We could have done it without it. We've not had any assistance from Table Tennis England. We don't ask for any, and we don't have any partnerships with schools or anything like that. And the other thing that a lot of people will tend to ask, if they ask about the success of a table tennis club, they'll ask about elite players. How many top 50 players you got? Do you play junior British League? We're not very involved in any of that. Some of our kids have gone to a high level, which is absolutely brilliant. But me and David, when we started this off, we really focused on changing the demographics of just getting more kids involved. And when we surveyed them about how did they first find out the club, because basically parents contact me every week. I don't ask each one of them how do you find out about us, but once or twice I've surveyed them. It's word of mouth. It's word of mouth. They come because a sibling comes, because a friend from school comes, and then a few of them come because they played on holiday, they played on a ping table, and they're interested in that, or they're a relative that somebody plays table tennis. And David has done a few outreach to schools, but I don't think that's brought us all that many people. It's really word of mouth through people's personal networks.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Okay, so David, you were going to talk about Bat and Chat.
Bat and Chat is another very successful table tennis thing that's happened in Chelmsford over the last couple of years. It was an initiative by Table Tennis England, right? So they contacted Chelmsford City Council and said, we want you to start up a Bat and Chat session. The council reached out to the league committee to say, have you got someone that will run Bat and Chat for us? And my dad volunteered, Gordon. And we started that in January 2017. 5 players turned up. We had 4 coaches, so that was a good ratio. And my dad's expanded it really, really well. And he's now got 70 members as of January 2020, before COVID started. He built up to 72 members, and he's had a maximum of 45 people at a session. So he's using all of Chelmsford's 22 tables. It's at the same venue that Chelmsford Table Tennis Club operate out of, CSAC. So they've got all of their tables. It's a 2-hour session on Thursdays during the day. So you tend to get retired people there. So it's like quite senior, members of society.
Is there quite a high level of females there as well?
Sorry?
Quite a high level of females percentage-wise.
That's right. About a third of the players are female, which kind of breaks all records for female participation. So it's a very good way of broadening out the gender in our sport.
That kind of brings along to kind of you've got some female coaches and initiatives in the club, I think, in terms of females.
Yeah, pretty well, but that's something that Paul and I really wanted to concentrate on, and I suppose that's the one thing that we haven't really achieved that much on. We've done women and girls only table tennis training sessions, so we've had like a series of 8. We do run those about once a year. We get as many females as we can get to come along to those, get lots of coaches involved, and try and make them good fun. But it hasn't quite translated into a massive increase in our female participation. But there's something we've still got to work on. We're really keen.
We in terms of junior girls, we've, as I say, when me and David sat down, we wanted to change the demographics. We wanted to get more people involved in table tennis. We wanted to repudiate the myth that there's some lack of juniors. We've got more than we can handle. But there's still the other. That was one thing, and the other part of it is me and David. We wanted to change the demographics of female participation, because that is the one thing that's an absolute gaping hole in table tennis in Britain. Is absolute catastrophic levels of female participation. We've not made a big dent in that. We have more junior girls. I think we definitely have more junior girls than the rest of the league put together. We have maybe 10, 12. It changes. What do you think? How many, David? Something like that. But they're still far outnumbered by the boys. There's probably more kids. There's probably more boys called Charlie than there are girls.
And David, tell us a bit about the role that Table Tennis 365 has had in your success.
Well, I just touched on that briefly, but I don't think we'd have been able to do this as easily as we have been without Table Tennis 365's league website software that used to be available to all leagues. It still is now, actually.
Gives us flexibility. Gives us flexibility. In Chelmsford, we stuck with it when Table Tennis England moved away from it. We've still got it now. We love it because this fleet-footedness of forming new divisions and constantly adding new players, I think that's really helped. And Gordon, David's dad that runs the league, he agrees. It's really helped us being flexible. And you mustn't underestimate the brilliance of that ranking system. The juniors absolutely love the 100%. Integrated ranking system, where they can go to tournaments and get loads of points, which sees them fly up, legitimately get loads of points. There's nothing fake about it. I thought it was a really good ranking system that really reflected the value of people's wins. And then they can see that they go to a tournament, they get loads of points, they get more points than their mates, and not all of the kids, but at least some of them, quite a good proportion, and quite a lot of the better ones, really love their ranking on Table Tennis 365. So those two things about Table Tennis 365, but just its user. The third thing is just its user friendliness, brilliant user friendliness. The flexibility for developing and changing, and the ranking system. Those two things are, I think, really important.
I know you don't get involved with National Cadet or Junior League, and I know that some of your players may go to other clubs to do that, but I think
they play for the league.
Yeah, but I think that a next step that might be useful for you would be to try and investigate, entering teams in National Cadet League and National Junior League. I know it's not necessarily close to your venue, but certainly in my club, that's the most popular kind of competitive table tennis that my juniors and kids play in. Actual Table Tennis England ranking points as opposed to just 365 ranking points. But that's something to think about in the future. And David, you're talking about maybe running some ranking tournaments maybe next season there in your club or in Chelmsford club.
Yes, I'd like to do that. At the moment in Chelmsford, kids can play on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday if they want to, all the different clubs. But on Saturdays, there's nothing. So I'm thinking maybe run a Saturday morning tournament. Just giving the kids opportunities to play, I think, is really important, and that'd just be one more opportunity. And it'd be a good opportunity to play tournaments as well. Yeah.
And also, just the fact that you've got so many kids playing, although I know you say you don't focus so much on the ability of the players, it does naturally bring the standard up. I mean, the more players you've got, naturally, the more better players you're going to produce. And I think you mentioned that some of the juniors, the top level juniors in the top division are, round about Division 1 or 2 of the adult league standard, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they're playing in the top division. That's something that Paul has been very passionate about, is developing a junior league that isn't below the adult league but runs parallel to it. So we've got players in our top junior division that are as good as some of the players in our top adult division. So he's very keen to keep those two age groups apart. Have a junior very, very strong top division and a weak junior low division, and have an adult very, very strong top division. Like keep the juniors separate from the adults.
Just another question: with all this, these high numbers of kids you've got going along, and how many is it? How many kids have you got? How many junior members have you got, or players that come along? What for Chelmsford? How many juniors would come along? Like how many are on the books under 18s? Would you say that come along?
I'd say around 80, 85.
Okay, and what are kind of the age breakdowns? I mean, how many of those are under 11, under 15, under 13, under 18? Do you have any idea?
Fairly reasonably spread all through those age groups. We have some very young, very many in the 7 to 9 bracket. They tend to be sort of 9 and over.
Right, up to 18, up to 17, 18, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, that's junior.
And so your 29 teams, that'd be broadly between, say, 9 up to 17. They're kind of fair. It's not like loads from one age group. They're all kind of equal roughly.
Yeah, of course, in the lower divisions, you tend to get the younger kids who have just started, and in the top division, you tend to get the older kids.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So to sum up, I think Paul's 4 main points were the delegation of responsibility for the juniors teams to the juniors parents, and that's really important because that stops just a few volunteers just working too hard and trying to arrange everything themselves. It's much better to get the parents involved. When we have match days at the club, the parents love it. Often, like both the parents come along and watch their child play, and the visiting teams bring their parents. It's quite a good atmosphere. So getting the parents involved, we think, is critical. Secondly, the coaching. Paul pays his coaches at Chelmsford Table Tennis Club, and he insists on them being qualified, which I think is important. And just the fact that they're paid just makes it a lot more professional. And all the sessions are planned out at Chelmsford and Danbury, in fact, and Nicol, and Butsbury. So that's 4 of the 5 clubs in the league. Lee McHugh is the head coach at all those clubs, and really I think Lee deserves a special shout out, really, because I think without Lee's professionalism and his really excellent coaching, and his keenness and his ability to use social media to keep everybody involved, I don't think that we would have expanded anywhere near as quickly. So I think coaching is very important. And then Paul also talked about league structure, and that was critical as well. And having the involvement of Chelmsford's league committee and their support in moving from just a winter season, a long winter season and a summer season, to a junior league that starts in September, ends in December, and then starts again in January, ends in April, and then starts again in June, and ends again in August. There's 3 entry points for any kids coming along during the year. But don't worry, there's a new league starting in about 2 months or 1 month. Then you can get in straight away. And so as soon as the kids come, if they're interested, they can join a team in the bottom division or wherever as soon as possible. So that change in the league structure, that also was critical, getting the support of your committee. So I think the final thing I'd add is like having a massive venue with 22 table tennis tables. That certainly does not help. And it's interesting because we've got such a massive venue, but we've filled it up. We could do with another evening now. There's no more evenings spare at the centre for us to have. But if we had another evening, say Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening, we could fill that up with another load of juniors, I think, quite within a year or so, maybe shorter. So yeah, those main points. Safeguarding, delegation of responsibility to the parents, qualified coaches, league structure, and just try and get in a really big venue and get yourself lots of tables.
Great to have David and Paul, who seem to have lost, on the show today. And with any luck, we'll be back with another show next week. And thanks a lot, David. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye all.